Get
Good
professional.
evening, welcome to Community Group. I'm going to present Colette. She's had some insight and she's going to share it with us.
Well, that was a short and sweet introduction.
Well, it was. I'm finished. I put out on Facebook that tonight was people's questions and people sharing insights. So a bit more of an open discussion, and within a very short space of time, Colette said she had something she could share. So I've been wondering what it was since she wrote it. But Colette is just our good friend. She shares the principles. She always shares our posts and is better at marketing and promoting us than we are.
Thank you.
And I always love to hear what you've seen and how life's showing up for you. So I thought you could kick us off tonight.
Right, yay, in the deep end.
No pressure.
Right, well, it's like, it is a big, for me, it's a big insight for me, but to anyone else it probably means nothing, but it doesn't matter. And it was yesterday while I was Googling hormones and how to have estrogen naturally from fruits and all this kind of thing. And while I was Googling, in the background, I was playing someone talking about thoughts, where they come from and all that kind of thing. So I wasn't really listening. I was more interested in what fruit I could eat to stop hot flushes and bloatiness and not sleeping and all the things. So while knowing everything comes from thought, as I do know this, but I just couldn't see it around this subject of hormones and things like that. So I was like halfway through Googling it all. And then whoever was speaking, in the background, they started talking about Santa Claus, and which made me think, what's he talking about Santa Claus for? So he said, when you were younger and you had a belief, if you had a belief in Father Christmas, Santa Claus, you had an experience of that belief. And I kind of thought back to when I was a kid and I really believed in Father Christmas. And I did have the experience of all the magic that goes with that and feeling excited and the feeling of magic, the smell of magic. And then as I got older, I didn't believe in Father Christmas. So that experience just went away, just on its own. And as I was thinking about all this, all of a sudden, sorry?
There's children here.
Oh,
Father Christmas does exist. Don't listen to Colette, she knows nothing.
no, I forgot about that. Open it up right. Anyway, well,
do not worry at all. You carry on. I'm zoomed out on something else. Don't you worry at all.
panicking now.
No problem. Honestly, carry on. Exactly what you were saying.
So as I was mulling this over in my head, as I got older, and then I didn't have the experience anymore, it just dawned and it just like flashed in my head, like the light went off. Oh my God, I believe that in this hormones. I believe I've bought into the whole hormone stories that women of a certain age get problems with the hormones, then they experience hot flushes, then they experience bloating, and I totally believed it, and I didn't see that I believed it. And because I believed it, I was getting the experience of hot flushes, and it was just like a boom moment. I'm thinking, oh my God, I've bought into another story that I've made up, and I've totally believed in it. And in that moment, as you know, when you get an insight, there's nothing to do with it. It kind of just dropped away. And I thought, yeah, I don't need to Google what fruits, because I don't like fruit. So that was a good one. I didn't have to Google anything. And I just thought, oh, it was just, I was really believing it. And I didn't see how much I believed in the story of hormones. And that was my big insight for yesterday. So I was really pleased.
Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, so that was it.
Was there a difference noticed in yourself after that?
Pardon?
Was there a difference noticed in yourself?
Yeah, because I laughed. Like, it was so funny that even though you say to yourself, I know this is thought, it's kind of, I was in the story and I was believing the thoughts, so I was experiencing it, but I haven't put the two together, which is weird. When you know this, you're thinking, how could I not see it? And then I just laugh, thinking, someone talking about Father Christmas and the experience of that made the light go off in my head that, I'm getting these symptoms because I believe in the story. And I just felt light after that. And then it was interesting because last night I thought, well, will I have a hot flush or not? And then thinking, well, I'm not bothered. I wasn't like, well, will or I won't, but I didn't. And I actually had. I slept all the way through, feel like a baby. I didn't wake up at all. So like today I'm buzzing around because I've got loads of energy because I've not been waking up. But I'm not putting anything on, oh, that's it, it's gone. It's just, I've seen that I bought into it. And if I start experiencing again, I'll know I've bought into it again.
Did a lot of snoring though.
Well, I don't care about snoring. As long as I sleep.
I think I must be menopausal. I'm struggling sleeping and I'm having a hot flush right now. I didn't talk to you some more, Colette. We'll talk afterwards. Help me through this.
I'm going to try and open the door.
It's cooking, isn't it? You know, it's really interesting. My mum mentioned this the other day, and I think it's on last community group. You'll struggle opening them. If I think you break it, take care. How she'd been struggling with her knees, and her knees were very swollen and very, very painful. And she went to the hospital. My mum does not do sickness or illness in any way whatsoever. When we were kids, I remember one time when I was living in my own home at this point. So it was when I was a proper adult. I used to get these stomach pains. Now I knew that they were energetic at the time, and I had them cleared, not by medicine, but by a healer, and they never came back. But at the time before that, I got to the point where I thought I was dying. I was in that much pain. I had my hood up, and I was sat on my bed, and I was crying. I'd be about 28, 29. I was crying with pain. And my sister had come round to see me. She'd phoned up Mum came up. She sat down next to me. She said, take your hood off. She pulled my hood off, and I didn't even have the strength in me to argue with her. I said, just get me an ambulance. She's like, what do you mean get you an ambulance? I said, please get me an ambulance. I need to go to hospital. I'm dying. And Mum was like, bear in mind, I was sweating. I was in utter agony and I was crying. Mum went, well, at least I know you're ill now. I mean, that's the level that my mum works at when it comes to illness. She has zero frigging tolerance for it. Anyway, so Mum takes herself to hospital with her knee. So I know that Mum must be bad. And she struggled and she struggled and she whinged and she whinged. I can say this because she's not on here right now. And then in their wisdom, the South Lakeland District Council had shut the road that my mum and dad live on at both ends. So they've made it so they couldn't escape or re-enter where they live, because they shut the road at the end of the road, and then beyond their house they shut the road further on. So all on the same day. I think it was 2 or 3 days it was shut for. So this pissed mother off no end, and she moved the traffic lights and drove through, and or moved whatever the hell it was and drove through. And then one of these days she came back and she was so pissed off with these roadworks. She just walked up, she grabbed all the things, she threw them out the way, she jumped in the car, she drove round the corner up into the drive, and she started walking up the drive, and she was chuntering away, bloody idiots, SLDC. And she realised she didn't have any pain in her knees. And in that moment, she saw the way that she'd been thinking about it. She saw how her attention to it had like perpetuated the pain. And she said, but in that moment, it had vanished, and she hasn't suffered it since. Just that awareness falling upon it as to the nature of the mind when it does come to physical ailments. You know, when Sid woke up and had his realization, he was saying the whole game of life is mind. Even what you experience within your physiology is an experience of mind. This is why you can be in pain, have your bad back. Alan, God bless you, have your bad back, and be watching a film, and when your attention isn't on your bad back, or your attention isn't on the pain, it's you are just immersed in the film. There is no pain. Consciousness is absolutely essential for there to be the experience of suffering. And so it's like starting to wake up to this. It's so interesting because you wake up to this and you think, oh, yeah. Perhaps you do have a deep realization. You realize the whole game of life is thought, but it is just the beginning. It is just the beginning. That is not the end goal. It is literally the new beginning. It's the new birthplace of your being. It's a new dawn for yourself to have awoken to that space. It's not the destination. I feel like many people feel like this is a destination. There is a destination to get to in this lifetime. There is no destination to get to. But no, it's lovely, that, Colette, and it's really interesting. I'd be really keen to know how you get on. And Mark, has your life got easier?
No, because you're snoring now, so I can't sleep.
Yeah, that's true. Is the snoring you?
Sorry?
Snoring you, is it?
Say again.
Is the snoring you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you just snore more now. Or maybe I'm just aware of it more because I can't sleep.
Oh, bless you. Nice one, Colette. Thanks, love.
All right.
Does anybody else want to ask a question, share an insight, or make a statement?
Could I just ask a bit more about the thought thing and like pain or injuries? So it's a bit weird because I sort of contradict myself, but almost like when Colette is saying about the hormones and the menopause and things, I'm thinking, oh yeah, but some people, it really is hormones and it really is, whatever, even though now I'm 53 and I've never had any menopause symptoms, and I put it down to the fact that I've never expected to have any, which sort of backs up what Colette said, but there's still this little thing about a bit of just, oh, I'm just lucky. But there's definitely, I've always had that, even before I knew the 3 Ps, I just sort of thought, well, I just never expect to get ill, and I generally don't. So that's that. So I sort of get, if you're not thinking about the pain, you don't notice it, it's not there. But it's more like, what if it's an actual injury? If someone has like an injury, how does that tie in with the thing that everything is thought? Because to me, like, the injury is real. You might feel more or less pain depending if you're focusing on it, but is the injury still there? Do you still have to take care about not damaging it further? I'm just interested to know a bit more or understand a bit more.
I remember after coming across the principles, just being fascinated by that, and a lot of people that have moved into the principles have spent a lot of time doing hypnosis. So one of them was telling me about their friend who specialized in hypnosis for surgery, when people are maybe allergic to anesthetic and those kind of things. And they could get to the point with people where they could have heart surgery under hypnosis without any medicine. And it almost sounded unbelievable. Like, I heard stories of people having, stuff to do with their teeth and that kind of thing. But I remember thinking, wow, that's evidence for what Sid said. Like, it's all mind. And we are not this form. Like, there's something deeper and more true about us than what we see and what we think of as us. And with attention, we can become more present with that and less focused on the body. But also I started to realize, but sometimes pain is a really handy thing, because if we put our hand on something hot, it hurts, so we take our hand away. So it takes thought to experience it, but it's also not necessarily a bad thing. And I think we all try and avoid it. And I think it's nice to realize that it really is, there can be physical pain, but we have to experience it through thought. There's no other way to experience pain than through thought. And then when you start to explore what thought is, you realize it's so much bigger than we understand. And that how can it be that we can feel like we're in agony, but then our attention can shift and we don't experience it. And then as soon as our attention goes back on it, we're in agony again. Like, where does the pain actually exist? And I think it's almost like you end up experiencing it for yourself, like the power of belief with it. So I don't think it's we have physical form, but we're not that. But then I feel I've got a deep respect for my form, and I listen to it. But it's interesting, so we were just having this conversation before, like there's a few people I've been working with recently who remind me a lot of myself maybe 10 years ago. And I know there's so much more for me to see around physical health, but I've just seen how much attention and focus I have put on illness and pain, and how I've seen it move around my body, and I've seen it. And I, like, Colette's had an insight that's shifted stuff for her, and I'm aware that through insight that could all change for me. But you can't, you can kind of know something and totally know the truth of it, but unless it's sunk down from your head, you've still kind of got that, oh yeah, but maybe this. And the cool thing is, it doesn't ultimately matter, because the principles are total. There is no experience without mind, thought, consciousness. So you take away any of those, there is no experience. So they have to be included in our experience of form and body and pain. So I think, to me, the hypnosis thing blew my mind, and I read into it quite a lot after that and looked at it, and I was like, that is incredible, that your mind can go somewhere else, that you do not then feel being cut and operated on. And I think it is, I remember you said when you first had your experience, one of the things that came to you was, we're not evolved enough to use the powers within thought yet. And I think there's some people on earth who kind of use thought in ways that I've never experienced, and can kind of do stuff with thought that seems like make-believe. And I think it is us allowing our minds to expand, that these principles are so much bigger than a psychology or than the form of them. They're pointing to like this magic, unknown, unknowable space that has nothing to do with form, but then creates all form. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it comes back to the point for me about when we talk about thought, it can be really easy to think, when we're talking about thought within the principles, we're talking about our thinking. And I hear this all the time, you're feeling your thinking, you're feeling your thinking, you're feeling thinking. I feel like that's one of the most limiting statements, but people believe that's what we're talking about. It's an aspect of thought, yeah, but it's not it. That wasn't Sid's point. Sid's whole point wasn't you are feeling your thinking. No, we feel thought. Thought and feeling are one thing. There's no separation. Thought doesn't. It's not like you can. When we go into the thinking aspect of things, and we're instantly looking at the creation. A thinking, a thought is creation. It's too late. We're missing the point. The moment we start looking at thinking, we're missing the point. What about this thought? What about that thought? How does this thought apply to a broken leg? How does that thought apply to a broken leg? When we're talking about thought, I love to ask this question because it was a question that Sue asked me when she introduced me to the principles. What is it? What is thought? What is thought? What is this miraculous, creative thing that appears to come from nowhere, but is all things, in all places, in all time? This thing that humanity did not invent. Not one of humanity's great inventions, but actually invented humanity. Thought. The dream state. The dream state of reality itself. The illusion of reality. The dream state that looks real. So real, we never question it. That's why we have these conversations. We actually have to have these conversations. Well, many people actually have to have these conversations. Some people just spontaneously wake up and realize it. I wasn't one of those people. I was somebody who had to be introduced to it, to wake up and realize it is all a dream state. Reality is a dream. The entirety of reality is a dream state. Not your dream state, not my dream state, but the dream state of an ultimate state of being, which then plays itself out into 7.8 billion people just on this planet, never mind all the beings throughout the universe and all the other beings upon this planet. It appears to divide itself, but it doesn't. It dreams the dream of infinite beings throughout the universe. Infinite experience, which includes the capacity within this reality here on Earth, at this current present time, in the reality that we reside in on this planet, in this frequency of consciousness, that the physiology can be broken. And we get to experience that as a reality within this frequency of consciousness. So when we're talking about thought, I say this pretty much every single week, but I really want people to get a sense of this. We must go bigger than what we think. What we think is too late. What we think is limited. It's an infinite potential collapsed into a potential. That's what a thought is. Any idea what we think we know, anything, is the infinite potential collapsed into a potential. Like, almost like a desert. Infinite amounts of grains of sand. And then we walk along, pick up a little grain of sand and go, oh, that's the desert. Oh, I get it now. That's the desert. No, it was a grain of sand. It's never the desert. Or a wave on an ocean. Oh, that's the ocean, that wave there. No, it's a wave. It's what the ocean's doing. And this is what we must start to understand about ourself and reality itself. Ourself and reality are exactly the same thing. One, it's like an ocean. We are an ocean. And the reality is whatever the ocean is doing, however it appears on the surface. You can't separate them. We tend to make this a very personal thing. We're looking for ourself. But ourself is not a personal thing. It appears as a personal thing the moment we end up in a thing called ego. which is a story of separation, an appearance of separation. An appearance of separation between ourselves and others, an appearance of separation between ourselves and nature, an appearance of separation between ourselves and source. There is no such thing. You know, it's interesting that without thinking, our body heals itself. But the body could not heal itself without first knowing that it was damaged. The body becomes aware that it's damaged. And we don't have to think about this. I cut my hand. I don't have to concentrate on heal it. It heals itself. But the healing process couldn't start without a thought. We must go beyond thinking. We must start to realize it is all one thing. But this one thing cannot be grasped with the intellect. The intellect isn't powerful enough to understand it. It never will be. Because the intellect is creation. And we're talking about the ultimate universal creative force. The intellect's too late. How does thought apply to a broken leg? In this reality, in this frequency of reality, this frequency of consciousness, there are human beings. And the human beings have a physical structure within them that they call the skeleton. Or so it appears. Because if you are interested in quantum theory, you start to get a sense that everything that appears to be in physical form isn't. This is why the quantum theorists can't find anything. Everything is made of nothing. There's just the appearance of it. This is why the mystics have always said, you want to change the world, change yourself. It's your dream. We're too busy fighting the world, trying to change the world. Can't change the world, it's impossible. The world you see is a reflection of your consciousness. Ultimately, there is no such thing as broken. There's the appearance of broken. But in this human world, this human reality, we experience broken legs, we experience bad backs, we experience the menopause. But yes, we experience it all via ourselves. And there is no separation from that. There is no experience outside of that. There is just total experience. We must start to look bigger. Ask bigger questions. You get bigger answers. Book by Dr. Bruce Lipton. People are probably familiar with this book. The Biology of Belief. He speaks about how thought, how consciousness changes the DNA structure of your physicality. Turns genes on, turns genes off. We are far more powerful than anything we currently en masse understand. We are clumsily creating reality. And I say clumsily because we don't know we're doing it. It appears like reality is just happening. That's why it's clumsy. More and more people are starting to wake up to realize, like Colette, I've been creating this all along in my dream. And the more we awaken, as we shift through the frequency of consciousness that we are, the more we start to become aware of that, the more the dream changes. The more opportunities present themselves within ourselves. New potentials, like what Jenny said when I first woke up. One of the first things I was told, for want of a better word, was humanity is not consciously awake enough yet to utilize the magic and the powers and the miracles, what we would perceive as miracles within consciousness, within themselves. But they all exist. They all exist. We all have access to these infinite powers. What appear to be supernatural, we call them supernatural, or perhaps we call them bullshit. They're not bullshit. They're real. They exist for everybody. But as Jesus said, it's done unto you as you believe. If you believe it's bullshit, you will stay there. You will stay stuck in that reality. It's your choice. As people start to awaken, that choice almost gets taken away from them. Or so it appears, because they're presented with new realities, new potentials. And what I find, what we hear time and time again as people wake up is, Dan's not on here right now, but he went for a drive and said, show me a sign, when he came and did an intensive with us. And so he drove to the top of Kirkstone Pass, turned around somewhere.
Well, he's looking at the sky for a sign.
Well, was he looking for the sky? Yeah. And he just set off driving down Kirkstone Pass, and he said, I don't want to drive down here. So he turned around. He showed us his photograph of where he turned around. He looked at the road and it said, #wake up. And you find these little what we call synchronicities start to show up in our lives. What we'd say are miracles at this current state in our evolution, in our awareness. More and more they show up. More and more you become aware of the magic that you truly are. Everybody is.
Marcus.
It comes back to what we were saying last time about the I amness, the what we say, that, you know, as you walk around all every day, you're subconsciously thinking as well what I am, and truthfully, that's what you're stating, even if you don't know it. That, you know, on the underlying things like I'm shy, or I get scared when this happens, and it's sometimes you don't even know it. But when you're saying that to yourself, that's the I amness. That's what you're getting. It's I am, like you said before. It's the I am that I am. But what we're constantly saying what we are, and that's what appears that's what's appearing into the form. We're coming from the formless, stating what we are, and we're seeing it. And it's the same with when people hurt themselves or they have an injury. It's deep down, they've not that they've caused it themselves, but it's all come from thought. And it's just realizing that, and then just affirming something different, like I am healthy, I am. And once it becomes a belief, like you said about belief, once it becomes a belief, then it will change. But it's like the underlying thing that you were on about your hormones.
I am hormonal.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, that underlying belief, and it's not just you. It's people take it on from your mum, your grandmother, and it's the things that we hear constantly from the day we're born on TV and that, and we get programmed to, and then we don't realize we're believing it, and then it becomes true. And it's like, say, miracles can happen like that. Once you change your beliefs, you see things differently, because you're saying I am something different. And when you say whatever you're saying, I am, because it's all thought, and it's all, everything just comes from, like you said, what is thought? Thought is, to me, is God. It's the soup. It's what everything's made out of, comes from thought. That was my bit. I'll shut up now.
It's nice, Mark. Thank you, mate. Yeah. Divine thought. Divine thought. Universal thought, as Sid called it. It's a divine dream. You are a divine dream. You are a thought. Just so happens the more we identify with that fact, the less we identify with the stories that create the suffering. Where things look impossible, nothing is impossible. It's all a dream.
It's weird, so I've got the thought. It's really hard to drive our van. It's massive. I don't like it. And I was saying to your sister today, I've been looking around. We drove down to Brighton yesterday, and there were some massive lorries and just big vehicles, and there's people driving them, tapping the steering wheel, singing, texting, pulling in at service stations, parking them. And it was like, if it was true that it's hard to drive that van, everyone would find it hard and they wouldn't be able to drive those things. Like, you can see there's so much evidence for what you do with your own mind. Like, I haven't seen through it, but yesterday driving the van, I was way more comfortable and less tetchy and safer driving it, because I just really started to see how much I create the story before I even get in the seat, of how terrible it is and how hard it is, and I don't know the size of it, and I'm terrible at driving, and it's just cool. You see
And then I fire up.
And that was the other thing. You were amazed. I said to Dave, if you could just put something on and listen to it and look at your phone and not try and help me drive, I think I'd find it easier. And you sat there for 2 hours and you only made one comment, which was about the handbrake. I didn't take the handbrake off quick enough when we were at the M6 toll.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am aware I had the handbrake on, but I have to almost get out of my seat to lean down to take it off. It was just, but you can see how Sid knew this was about freedom. And he saw what prevented us from feeling that expansive freedom. And it's belief that doesn't look like belief, it just looks like fact or truth. And you get to see through stuff, and stuff gets to fall away. And it's not, I wrote it, I had to write a chapter for a book recently, and it's not even that anything's falling away, because it didn't ever really exist in the way that we think of things. There is only that freedom, and it can have an appearance of prison or not freedom, but it's never that. It's still the freedom. And I think that in a way can take off your mind, you having to try and do something or get rid of something. Like Colette was minding her own business, Googling, when suddenly something hit her, it struck her. But so often we are looking or listening for someone to give us an answer, or to fix us, or to make us feel better, or to, which is all part of the illusion that there's something wrong or something that needs to be fixed. So if that's what we're listening through, that's what we'll experience. And we'll keep experiencing the fact that no one can heal us and no one can fix us, because we were never broken. But if we're constantly looking for someone to make us feel better, or to change us, or to give us the answer, we're bought into a false story, and it will keep showing up for us like that. And I think so many of the spiritual teachers in time have just said, you don't know anything. We don't know anything. To someone 100 years ago, 150 years ago, how we're living now is science fiction. Impossible. Make believe.
The only reason why everybody's here is because we know that we're missing something. That we know that there's more. In spite of all of its appearances as this reality, we still know that there's more. In spite of how fixed everything looks and how real it all looks, we're all here because we know there's something more. We've always known it. We're all looking for the same thing. We're looking for peace and happiness and fulfillment and joy. We're looking for beauty in our lives. That's all anybody's ever looking for. And what they're looking for is themselves without a judgment. They're looking for the world without a judgment. Because the only thing that creates suffering is a judgment. A thought. So interesting. Everything looks so real. Sometimes you know it's an observation. Sometimes you know it's a judgment. Sometimes you are aware that your perspective on the subject could change, but then there are times when you are not. Like Colette with the hormones and biscuits. It's usually about biscuits, I think, with Colette. Insights around biscuits, usually. Bit by bit, that starts to collapse. Bit by bit, we become aware of more and more and more of how the mind is creating. We've been aware of this for a very long time as a species, but we've always been trying to do something with it. We've always assumed at that point that we must do something with the mind. So we create all these strategies and we create all these ideas. And more often than not, these strategies and ideas have produced possibly temporary relief. I know that people in the psychiatric system often spend a lot of time in the psychiatric system and return to it. I did. And I know I'm not on my own. But it's because we've always been trying to fix something. We once cast a judgment upon something. Perhaps somebody else cast a judgment upon us. We took that judgment and we realized it. We made it real to ourselves. It's impossible. It is impossible for anybody to be damaged. I'm not talking physically, I'm not talking about the broken leg or the bad back. That can happen in this reality, in this form, as these human beings. But I'm talking about ourselves. We cannot be damaged. There is nobody here who is not meant to be here. There is nobody here who isn't valid. There is nobody here who isn't not worthy of existence. What are you laughing at?
Isn't not
Isn't
double
not?
negative, which makes it positive.
Is that right?
Double negative, yeah, I think so.
I'll
Isn't-
check with
isn't-
Mark. He's
is-
my
Isn't not worthy.
he's my language guru. Was that a double negative, Mark? I know you speak proper good England.
It was a treble negative. It was a negative, but then a negative became a positive, but then it was followed by a negative.
That was very negative, Mark.
It was. I thought it was quite positive. So
Oh, okay. Um, sorry, back to the double negatives again. It's northern. It's what we do. Finger.
finger.
But this is all created, this idea of we need to improve ourselves. We need to get somewhere. There is somewhere else we should be. It's all based in the idea because we feel something. Because we don't feel nice feelings. So we start looking for the reasons why. Why do I not feel these nice feelings? And more often than not, we start to blame an external source. We'll blame the weather, we'll blame politics, we'll blame COVID, we'll blame kids, we'll blame Mark. Blame our relationships, we'll blame finances, we'll blame work, we'll blame people at work. There's infinite things to blame on the external for why we feel like we feel, but ultimately there isn't. And it's collapsing these illusions until there is just one thing left. It's collapsing the story of who we think we are, who we think other people are, what we think this world is, what we think this universe is, what we think this reality is, until there's only one thing left. And that can happen bit by bit or all at once. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact. It doesn't change it one iota. Whether you are aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change it. It can't change it. Whether you're alive or dead, it doesn't matter to it. Because you are it. Waking up to this is starting to see beyond this reality and understanding that it is simply a potential. It's simply a potential. And it's created by something that we give the term mind to. We call it mind. Perhaps you may call it source. Perhaps Mark calls it God. It's cool. It's none of those things. They're words. All those words come from it. It's waking up to the mystery of who and what we are. Because whatever we think we are, we're not. We will appear as, yes. We will appear as such. So much so you won't question it. So much so we would never question it. Most people have gone to the grave never questioning it. But we happen to be at a time of great questioning right now in many, many people. We go looking for it with our minds. We start, is it thinking, is it this, is it that? No, that's not it either. Whatever's looking for it, That's what it is. It's you. You, the mystery of life itself. That I am, before we added a label onto the end of it. I am X, I am Y, I am Z, I am blah, 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 and blah. Happy, I'm sad. I'm greedy, I'm envious, I'm depressed, I'm joyous, I'm perfect, I'm blah, 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 whatever it is. I'm male, I'm female. You see that within yourself, you see that within all people, you see that within reality, you see it's all one thing. It's a story. It's all a story. It's all a story. It's all love. There's evidence for this in our everyday lives. The moment you fall in love with somebody, you feel connected, you feel like you bridge a gap that once appeared to be there. You fall in love with somebody, you feel that connection, you fall in love with a place, a painting, an animal, a song, your child, a piece of cake, a cup of tea. And you've got your hand up, love. Sorry, love.
It's all a story. That's what you've just said. I'm on the verge of an insight here, and I'm getting all worked up about it because I'm excited about it. Something that's plagued me for absolutely ages. And listening to what Colette and Mark were saying, and what you've been saying as well, I've had health anxiety for years, absolutely years. And it's plagued me recently as well. But listening to what everyone's saying, when Mark was saying about I am, I've been saying I have health anxiety. But I've been telling myself that. I've been telling myself that I have health anxiety. I am an anxious person. And it's getting me all now because I know I've been telling myself that story for years. And I'm not that. And what you've been saying tonight, I'm writing stuff down because I can feel it all building up inside. And I'm like acceptance of all natural emotions. But when it comes to anxiety and me thinking I have this health anxiety, it's always been a big thing in my life, but I was very acceptance of all the other emotions. But I'm telling myself I have that, so I will have that. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not that person. I've made all that up. And that's listening to Colette and Mark as well. I'm getting an insight into something here. And I'm quite excited about it. And that's why I'm getting all anxious inside about it. Yeah, just wanted to share that because it's really, it needed to come out. I don't have health anxiety. I've just thought I have.
It's impossible for you to have Health anxiety.
I'm shaking. Gosh. I don't. I don't have health anxiety. It's all made up.
Even that.
Wow. Oh gosh. That's great.
Beautiful. Thanks, Ange.
Thank you to Colette and Mark as well, because they just helped me with that as well. Like Colette was talking about hormones and things, and I think that's a biggie for me as well over the past few years. And then Mark saying I am, and then I've connected it to I have. So I've brought all that on myself. I thought that that was the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angelo. Xander, you got your hand up, mate. That doesn't look like Ireland today.
It definitely is not. I come on to say something else, but I'm going to say this first. I'm in tears of laughter here. I've been working with somebody for the past 2 years who has anxiety. And that person has listened to me on video and has never spoken until last night. And I've never once used the term, and the way it come to me years ago in 2012 was, it's all just a story. And I've never used that. I've said that with my friends. I've used it so many times, and I've never said to this person, not once, that it's just a story. And I don't know why. I don't know why. It seemed too direct. I've told her that it's imagination because, it's I've linked it to the images in our mind. That's what imagination is. It's images. It's and all that. But I've never used that term. That it's all stories, and I think I have to. But listen, the reason I'm actually I can't see the screen because I've got tears in my eyes. And I don't know. I've never met Angie before. Oh, and by the way, I'm not a very compassionate person. So there you go. But that's a lie as well. So, and that just, wow. Listen, the reason I put the reason I raised my hand in the first place was, I spent about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I don't know, looking for this. I actually have a copy, an audio copy of, what is it now? Biology Belief. and I just wanted to offer it for free to anybody who's on this call, just because it was mentioned by yourself, Dave. And I also wanted to say that another good movie that sort of links the two, no the two, but there is a link. I don't know, Dave and Jen, if you've seen the what the bleep do we know? Right. I don't know if Lipton's in that one, but I think he is, I'm not sure. But there are links there because I discovered them around about the same time, just after 2012, just after I had my insight. It's good information, and I've got that available as well. I can make that available as well to anybody who's interested. I just thought I'd offer that biology belief. Look, it's there. I've had it in my Google Drive for years. I've listened to it once, and I thought, well, it's doing nothing there. Now that it's come up, I just wanted to offer it to anybody on this call who's interested to that. For that.
Cool. Xander, can you type your email address or something into
Yep.
And then anybody who's interested.
Anybody interested can get me it. So again, thank you. Thanks, Angie, for you just touched me there. I just put it in the chat. That's massive.
Sure.
So it also proves to me that I'm not the
Tin Man.
yeah yeah, I'm not the Tin Man I thought I was, which is yes. Yeah. So anybody just send me an email to that, xander.glasgow@protonmail.com. Right, now I'll be quiet now and go and wipe my eyes again.
Oh, thank you, Xander. Thank you, mate. Sit down. Sit down. I know. Let's take a break. Come back in 10 minutes. Welcome back. I think what we'll do at this point is we'll just open it up again and see if anybody wants to talk about anything, share anything, question anything. The stage is set for whoever wants to speak next.
Can I just quickly say something?
Yes.
I'm eating a biscuit and it's after 6 o'clock. I can't eat after 6 o'clock because it's bad for me.
Were you a Mogwai?
Sorry?
Were you a Mogwai?
I could tell you if I was, if I knew what one of them was.
Mogwais, they're the basis of a gremlin. They're a cute little thing, but they can't eat. No, that's after 12 o'clock, isn't it? They can't eat. And you also can't get them wet.
No, that could be right, actually. No, this is unseen. I wouldn't know. I don't know what's happened, but something's happened. And I'm eating after 6 o'clock. Drinking's fine, but eating. I don't know. Something's happened. That's brilliant.
Good.
I'm going again. Bye.
Enjoy your Vickies.
I always love it when you share, and because you sat so quietly for such a long time.
Yeah.
And it was just one group where Dave almost just picked on you and asked you if you had anything to share, or you'd seen anything, and you shared, and we're all just sat there like, wow.
Yeah.
How did you not tell us all that
Why
before?
have you never spoken before?
And And then also it's like we've got to be part of this unfolding for you and your journey of seeing stuff and things falling away. And I know that, I think it was a couple of weeks ago when you're on, or the one before, where you weren't feeling so great, so you just shared that and you were honest about that. And I think you just bring such honesty. And I think it's amazing for people to see, because the amount of messages we get that people have just watched the recording of some of these, so it's not just the people on the group that get to hear, and it sparks insight in other people, and it helps them see that you can have big insight and shift, and then you can get really caught up again, and then you get to see them the next week and they've come out of it, and you see how human it is to get fooled by it. And I just really appreciate you sharing, because you've shared really honestly and openly about all kinds of things with the group. And I know there's been feedback that said how much your story had helped, or those kind of things. So thank you.
Well, there's also been like a bit of an update with my husband, you know, obviously he's got the Alzheimer's, and he was supposed to go into respite a couple of weeks ago, and we'd had a load of hassle, me and my daughter, with him over two or 3 weeks before, and it was just one thing after another going on and on and on and on. And then, sorry, I'm still all funny inside. We're all planning to get him in. We booked him in to go into this care facility for a couple of weeks. And on the day, he decided he didn't want to go. It wasn't for him. He wasn't going to do it. No, we were forcing him into it. So my daughter got herself really worked up about it. And I'd said to her, she said to me, "So what we're going to do, Mum?" And I said, "You know what? We're not going to do anything. We're just going to let it go and see what happens." She said, "I know, but Dad's doing it. We'll have to get Dad into a home because he's not coping very well at home." I said, "We've tried everything. We're just going to sit back and let's see what happens." She said, "Oh, that doesn't sit comfortably with me." I said, "No, but there's nothing else we could do, and that's what we're going to do." So anyway, we did. And it's worked out that we're getting this helper for him. Me and my daughter are going to interview her next week. And we're going to try and get someone in their home to look after him, rather than him going there. He's uncomfortable with that. And that would never have occurred to us to do that leading up to respite. But the council came forward and suggested that could be a thing. So there's been a solution, even though we were searching for this solution. That solution's come naturally to us. So yeah, we didn't have to do very much more. So again, we just left it to whatever, and it happened. Something's happened. So hopefully this is the way forward now.
One of my favourite sayings of Jesus Christ is, "If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you would say to the mountain, move, and the mountain must move." I feel like that's one of the things you start to find within yourself. I'm not talking about a religious faith. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about faith itself, faith in life, faith in yourself, faith in all that is. You start to understand that in this mad existence of life, it comes with its challenges. It always figures itself out one way or another. Just does. What you think is a problem now isn't later on. What you think is wrong now, all the things you think are wrong. I always used to think going to prison was wrong. I'm grateful for it now. You know, and it's like, it sounds to me like, Ali, in that moment you just had faith that one way or another this is going to sort itself out, which it will. I remember when Jen, you were trying to decide what you wanted to do with your relationship, just as we got together. and you went and saw Terry Rubenstein and had a chat with Terry, and Terry said, you may not be able to make your mind up right now, but one way or another, a decision will be made. It just does. Life just does. And I think that's a beautiful example of it, Angie. Is as we start to sit back, as we start to relax a bit, as we start to take ourselves and take this world less seriously, the world lines itself up for us. More and more we start to see it, and that's where the faith goes from being a belief in a faith to I just have faith in life. I can deal with life. I have faith in myself. I have faith in this world. I have faith in existence. That's beautiful, that, love. Thank you so much. I know, Karen, you've got your hand up, love.
Yes, I do.
How are you doing?
Hi, fine. How are you?
Good, thank you very much. Whereabouts are you at?
What did you say?
Where are you at?
In Stockholm.
Stockholm, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. I would love to hear from both of you. I would love you to talk about something that is a big issue for me. It's like a really, really hard, how do you say it? I try to make an expression, but anyway, it's a very hard nut to crack.
Okay.
Okay. And it's about relationships. It's about other people that is important in your life trying to control you. And it maybe sounds easy, but it's what they do is having a big impact on my life. You know what I mean? If they do like this, or if they do like this, or whatever, it's having a big impact in my life. It's so hard to just ignore it, kind of. You know what I mean?
Could you expand on that a little bit more?
Yes, it's my siblings, and it's about a summer house that they want to take it over, and I love this place. So it's so much fear that they're gonna take it away from me.
Have you got any evidence they're going to take it away from you?
They tell me, they threaten me, and they are able to by law.
The only thing that comes to mind is it's very easy to put our well-being and our happiness on life showing up a certain way. And when we do that, we lose our sense of perspective, we lose our sense of creativity. And if we're lost in fear, then we're not that creative from that space. And the more we come back to the moment and get present, there isn't anything we need. There isn't anything that we lack. We already are everything we're looking for. And from that place, when we speak from there or move from there, it seems that it's more creative and more beneficial to our life. So, you know, the principles isn't about saying if you understand this then everything always goes your way, but it is saying that we can handle life, we can show up in life, we can find our way in life. And when we know that, when we feel empowered in that, then I think we have different conversations than when we have them from fear or anger or lack. And you have everything within you to be able to navigate this situation. But if your happiness is dependent on you keeping this summer house, then you'll lose your bearings, because suddenly something can be taken from you and you will be lacking. So there isn't anything outside of us that gives us or creates experience. And as we know that, it doesn't mean we have to let go of things and not have anything, but it means that we're freer with it. And we're more able to communicate with people from that place. And I think people listen better when we communicate from there. There is always infinite potentials of how something could turn out. But often when we feel that it's either going to be this or that, or we feel that someone else has the power, we limit ourselves. We don't allow in new ideas. So that's the only thing really that occurred to me, is just allowing yourself to settle back down.
Life brings with it its challenges. And we take them very seriously. When Jen and I went out to Nepal, we met people who'd had their houses removed from them by means of an earthquake. And I remember going in there, and my ego, going in there with such ego. I felt really sorry for these people. And I wanted to help. And one of the first people I spoke to taught me one of the greatest lessons I ever learned in my life. Because I asked him, who was living in this little wooden building made out of bamboo and a corrugated iron roof and open to the elements. Monsoons were coming. They were sleeping on pallets, wooden pallets, shipping pallets. 15 in this little shed. And I asked him where his house was, and he pointed to a pile of bricks that were all neatly cleaned off and stacked. They only had the tiny little bricks. They were like that big. They're not like ours, which are like this big. They were like the tiny little bricks, about that big. He was just one of many people within this village who no longer had a home to live in. And I tried to give him some stuff. I wanted to give him some stuff that he could sell, so he could start to get some money, so he could be all right. Because this man had nothing, as far as I was concerned at that moment. I felt sorry for this man. This man, when I tried to give him this stuff, he pushed it back. Said, no, thank you. I said, please, you take this, you can sell for a lot of money. And he pushed it back again, and he said, no, thank you. We have everything that we need. Thank you. And as he said it, he put his hand on his heart. We have everything that we need. Thank you. And he was looking me square in the eye as he said it. And in that moment, I knew he was correct. And he knew he was correct. He had nothing. He was all right. I walked away from that man and I burst into tears. I think I went and hugged Jen. I evaluated my own life in that moment very quickly, and I saw how attached to outcomes I was in order for me to be all right and for me to be kind and patient to other people. This isn't about rolling over or anything like that. I'm not talking about something that's passive. I'm talking about something that's so fucking powerful. The knowledge of ourself, the knowing of ourself. That man knew. We're not here forever. We're not here for long. Not in this incarnation. We continue beyond this incarnation, but we only have a finite amount of years in this incarnation. We're only here for a certain amount of time to learn some lessons in life, to be on this planet, to create. We take things really seriously, almost like we're going to live forever. I love what Jen said. There's a space in which you can communicate with people, which is more proactive and more constructive. You can find that space. Everybody is it. It's generally not. Telltale sign is if you're feeling angry towards those people, it's probably not a grand time to go and speak to them. But who knows? Maybe it is. But within you, Karen, you've got this either way. Whichever way this goes, you're fine. Whichever way this goes, you are fine. Can't tell you what to do. Can't tell you what to say. Not my place. Don't know enough about the subject. And even still, it's your life. I don't comment on people's lives. I don't give advice. Neither does Jen. You've got within you what you need to navigate this lifetime. Everybody does. See how wars are started in a state of consciousness that is so attached to external things. That's why wars start. That's why destruction starts. That's why that's how suffering's created. It's not saying don't love the things. You can love anything you want. You can love places, you can love flowers, you can love insects, birds, people. Pictures, ornaments, jewelry. Love it. Cool. But you can see how when we become attached to that as our source of experience, our source of well-being, you can see how that attachment, this is why the Buddhists and the Hindus, the earliest religion going is Hinduism, spoke very, very strongly about being attached to external things. When we become attached to external things, we become greedy and competitive. We fuck one person over for another person. We fuck each other over. We do unkind things to one another. because we're so bought into an external reality. And the idea that, one, the external reality is the true reality, and two, that the external reality is the source of our experience, which is ultimately the same statement. I think I'm just an advocate for honest conversation. We've got a little bit of land. My sister and I have a little bit of land. And it borders my cousin's land. I knew nothing about his grievances towards what we were doing, my sister's planning permission, which she got on the land. I knew nothing of it until I personally I came back from South Africa, I think it was, and I received could have been Sweden actually. I received a solicitor's letter from him stating all these points. I have to pay for this solicitor's letter, blah, blah, blah. And I'm allowed to do this and I should be allowed to do that. I must sign this. And therefore, if I do that, then Lisa can put water pipes through through a bit of land that they own. And I showed my family and they were like, right. My mum and dad were like, right, well, I know a good solicitor. And I was like, what are you doing? He's family. Yeah, he's existing in that solicitor's world, but I don't personally. If I've got a problem, I go and speak to them. He's my cousin. Mum and dad were like, you can't, no, you need to return this with a solicitor's letter. You know, you must have this done legally, solicitor's letter. So I took my cousin out. I just went and knocked on his door and went, come for a walk. And we went onto this bit of land that we've got. I said, tell me what you're thinking we're doing here, mate. And he went, well, I'm concerned that you're going to sell it on to a developer and, you know, they pay you good money to develop this land and we'd end up with like 6 or 7 houses here. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Mate, it's me, nature boy. I don't want this beautiful bit of land turning into a housing development. I'd like somewhere for Lisa and I to live. But no, that's not going to happen. And he spoke of a few other things that he wanted to do and a few other things that he said, concerns that he had. And within a 10, 15, 20-minute conversation, we cleared up all the problems. He paid for his solicitor's letter. Honest conversation, to straight conversation, to separate realities, starting to understand one another through listening and kindness. That's the only thing that I would say when it comes to that kind of matter. Speak to people. Be honest. And listen. You'd be amazed how quickly you clear up problems. People don't want to talk to one another. They'd sooner live in animosity and hatred towards one another and not speak to each other. Fall out. It's that whole saying, where there's a will, there's a feud, or where there's a will, there's a war, whichever one. Because we're so attached. We think things are so important to us, when in reality they're not. We just think they are. Is there anything else you want to say on that, Karen?
It's really beautiful. The thing that comes up is what you say, to talk to them, the thing is that they are so much in anger and hatred, I think. So, and I have no idea why. And maybe because they're so much in control and really want it. And I am the one who is saying no to it. So it's very hard for me to talk to them because they don't want to talk to me, and it's so infected, and it's so much anger and judgments, and I don't know, resistance, and I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels very uncomfortable for me to talk to them because it's easy for me to also get in anger if they are in anger.
It's also very easy for a situation to exponentially get out of hand. You know what? Somebody may say one thing to us at some point, and the next thing, 2 years down the line, they're this, they're that, blah, blah, blah. I bet they think like this. I bet they think like that. This one thought, this one event suddenly multiplies in our mind to an exponential thing. I was having a conversation with somebody about this the other day. What was it she said? Can't remember. But I pointed out to her how she'd literally created a whole story around it. She had herself. Bear in mind, there is only ourselves that can create the story. She'd created this story all around this subject. And it had got out of hand within her own mind. And I pulled her up on a few things. I was like, but do you have proof of that? She's like, no. I said, well, when did you start to become aware of that? Well, when I thought it. Oh, okay. Okay. So you made it up. And at that point there, when did you become aware of that? Oh, no, well, yeah, I made that up as well. You see, we make up stories about people. It may be that your family are angry towards you at this point. But they might not be. They also might not be. It might be a perspective of our mind. And sometimes, yes, it can be uncomfortable to have an honest conversation. But I tell you what, fucking hell, 20 minutes honest conversation can clear up years of suffering, years of hatred. One honest conversation can clear up years of animosity. Why are we so afraid to have honest conversation? Because we're scared of how we feel. That's it. We're scared of a feeling.
Can you say more about that?
Which bit, love?
That's exactly how it is for me. I'm so scared of the feelings.
It's exactly how it is for everybody. Everybody's afraid of feelings. All feelings are the same thing. We think our feelings are giving us information about what to do and what not to do. No, they're giving us information about our consciousness and what it's thinking. I know somebody very close to me who, like Ange, would say he has physical anxiety, health anxiety. I have that. I have that. He would listen to you, Ange, and he'd go, oh yeah, I have that as well. Absolutely identifies with that belief. And I once said to him, and this man, God bless him, he suffers all his feelings, his gut feelings. I said to him, how often is your gut feeling right? All the time. So every single time you've gone to the doctor with your gut feeling that there's something seriously wrong with you, and the doctor's turned around and gone, there's nothing wrong with you. Oh, now it's moved to here, now it's moved to here, now it's moved to here, now it's moved to here. He believed all his feelings were trying to tell him something. Believed that every single feeling he had was information about an external world. Oh, that feeling's telling me don't go there, don't go near that person. Oh, all this anxiety. It was never a reflection of the world, it was a reflection of himself.
Can I say something?
Please.
For me, it feels like I have to do it the right way, talk to them the right way, so they won't do what I don't like. You know what I mean? They have the power.
Just say that one more time, sorry.
Yeah, I'm afraid that I'm gonna talk to them in the wrong way, angry way, so they gonna dislike me, do bad things to me. They have the power.
You do realize that everything you just said does not exist.
Yes.
It doesn't exist.
What?
Well, everything you said just then does not exist.
What did I say?
That you're scared that they're going to speak to them like this or like that, and none of that exists.
Tell me.
It's a thought now.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
just
it is.
creating a story right now about a future that doesn't exist.
True.
But that thought appears true and real. That's the nature of reality. Right there, that is the nature of the entirety of reality that you experience. Your thought creates your experience. And it looks real. It looks so real. That thought will stop you having a conversation with your own family. It's not your family, it's your thought. It was never your family. Your family does not have the power to create any form of experience within you, for you, as you.
So can you tell me that even if they take the summer house away from me? Oh, it's it's a thought.
Say that again.
Okay, it's a thought.
Is it short, did you say?
No, it's the thought. I see now. It's not that they take the summer house away. It's a thought about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
If they take away the summer house from you, I don't know. It doesn't sound like to me like they can if you're the one that's holding the strings. But I don't know enough about your subject.
No, they can because they own it and I don't own it. Oh, I don't own it yet.
Okay. Well, if they take away the summer house, they take away the summer house.
Yeah.
But that does not create your experience of life. That doesn't mean that doesn't create suffering. It doesn't. It's like the man who lost his house in the earthquake. Yes, he had his house taken away from him. He also had an awful lot of his neighbors taken away from him, possibly some of his family. He was all right.
I see that.
It's not in an external world, isn't well-being and happiness and joy. We have searched the external world to the point where we've destroyed it in search of peace, happiness and joy, safety.
I'm also afraid that they're never going to talk to me again. They never want to see me again.
Yeah, this is what our mind will do. It will create more and more stories about, this is what I was saying earlier on. We have a situation and exponentially it starts to, oh, well, now it'll be like this and now it'll be like that. And I'm scared of this and I'm scared of that. It doesn't exist. The situation itself doesn't actually exist. That situation doesn't exist. It's a thought now that looks so real. And you see, we suffer this. And we become afraid of it. We're not afraid of that circumstance. I want you to see if you can see this. You're not afraid of the circumstance. You're afraid of your own mind and what it's creating. Can you see that?
Yes.
You're not afraid of that circumstance. Why? Why are you not afraid of that circumstance? Well, simply because that circumstance doesn't exist outside of your mind. That's a story you're making up. Mark, do you want to say something, mate? I notice your hands up.
I think I've told this story before, but some people might not have heard of it. But I remember when I'd had an argument with my boss, and a lot of the time I was home. So we'd had this set to, and then I got in the car, and for hours, every day, I was just going over in my mind about this argument, and it was getting bigger and bigger. And at the end of the week, I had to go into him. I said, "This has got to stop this," because I'd gone through all the scenarios, and that was it. I was going to hand my keys in, jack my job in. So I went straight up to him, fuming, and I said, "Right, we need to sort this out." And he said, "Sort what out?" I said, "This argument we had." Argument? What argument? He hadn't even seen that there was an argument, but I'd been in the state of the I am. I'd had all this argument in my head. We just. He said one thing, I didn't agree with it. It didn't go the way I wanted it to. He just let it go, but I carried on with that for about a week. And as I was thinking, it was just getting bigger and bigger, and I was creating that in my head. Because I was coming from I'm annoyed with him. I'm annoyed with this job. It shouldn't be like this. So, and then when you go into that as I'm annoyed, then you're going to see, everything was annoying me. And I was on my own in the car. There was no one else there. It was just me constantly going on, having this argument with him. And then when I got to him, he'd got it. It wasn't even an argument. It had gone. He hadn't seen it as that. It was me that was creating my own world. And that's the biggest thing about this. The thing is, if I am of me is in fear, I'm going to see fear. That's what the greatest power. We are the creators of our world, because we create whatever we think we are, and while we think it's going to play out, that's what we're creating over and over again. But it's not true, because none of that was true, because he didn't even see there was an argument. It was just some words that had happened and they'd gone in seconds with him. But with me, for that whole week, it was massive. It was the worst thing going. And yet it was nothing to him. And it just shows that I was creating all that myself. We create everything ourselves. So you can go to the other end and see it as it's not going to happen. Go to that end. Everything's like a stick. There's one end, there's a bad and the good. Don't get hold of the bad. Get hold of the good and see it like that, and just see what happens. Then you'll feel different, and you'll go back to the I am not fearful, because we don't know it. All this is just made up. We're going through scenarios. That's what we do, of how everything's going to be bad, you're going to lose that. But go to the other end and see it going the other way and just see how it feels.
From love.
Yeah, from love. That was it.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Marky Mark.
Yeah, I can see that I have built up this, whatever you call it, stories. And I can see that my siblings have. And I think the stories are probably bigger because I don't understand why they're angry at me. I haven't done anything. But in their heads, they have so much anger and resistance. And so I can really see how we all have stories in our heads about this.
See, Ange. Yeah. Karen, everybody does that. People think they're up against a world. They're not. They're up against their own mind.
So what would you do if you have siblings that is building up stories about you that is not true, and there's so much hatred and they don't want to be with you any longer the rest of their lives?
Speak to them. Go and have an honest, open conversation with them and listen to them.
And if they don't want to?
And if they don't want to, then they don't want to. Your well-being is not dependent upon it. Your well-being does not come from it.
I love to hear that.
How can it? How can circumstance create experience? If circumstance created experience, when something happened, we would all see the same thing. Take the summer house. You see this reality, the summer house, very differently to your siblings. If the summer house was a true reality, there'd be no argument. It would be the true reality. The summer house does not create the experience you live in.
And my siblings does not.
Doesn't create theirs either, no. No. Experience only works one way. It comes from within. We think reality is outside of ourselves. This is the gift of life itself, the inexplicable thing that we call life. What is life? This is the gift of it. When you are born into these bodies, you then walk through this world as a human being. And what is a human being? Well, it's a being of creative capacity. And it just walks through life continuously creating. It creates everything in the external world from the inside. That summer house didn't exist. At some point, somebody thought, oh, I'll build a summer house there. And they figured out from within themselves how to build it. And they build it in an external world. It's all born from within. And then whatever we think about it, whatever our experience of the summer house, is from within. There is no outside. There's no outside you've ever experienced.
No, but when I'm in this place, the summer house place, I just love it so much.
That's beautiful.
That's why it's so hard to let it go.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's like a lake, and I love to swim there, and it's like, and I can see that I'm holding on to this place that it's better than other places.
Yeah, you love it. That's beautiful. Not saying don't. I'm just saying your experience of that comes from within your own being. You generate it. You generate that experience. You know, I've spoken to lads in prison, proper shitholes, places you really don't want to go to. And I've seen lads wake up in prison I'd say, I'm free. Can you believe I'm free? These walls and these gates were never my prison. My prison was my own mind.
Yeah, and what I see now is what this guy, I don't know what his name was, but, and what you say as well, that you create your own reality, so I can choose how I want to create things, right?
When you become aware, yes. When you become aware, yes, you have more choice. More choice presents itself.
Yeah, and this guy said I can choose to think it in another way. But that is positive thinking, isn't it?
If you get tangled up in all that, then you really are missing the point.
Yeah.
Wake up and see it's a dream.
Yeah.
Wake up and see what reality is. See what your reality is. Wake up and see that there is no outside of your dream. You'll start to see something about yourself. You're not who you think you are, and neither is anybody else, any of your siblings. You'll see that they are caught up in their dream too. They're dreaming a different dream to you. That must tell you something. Who's dreaming the true, real dream? I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's so hard for me. I don't want them to dislike me. And that is a thought.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a thought.
Just go and have an honest conversation with them.
Yeah.
Just go and say what you need to say.
Yeah.
This is how I see this place. I absolutely adore it. Can we come to some kind of arrangement? What else could we do?
Yeah.
It's dead simple.
Yeah.
I've
It
cleared
is.
all. I walk around through my life and I clear up my problems by just having conversations. And the moment I've had a conversation, life gets easier. That's the only bit of advice I ever give anybody. Just be honest. Don't assume you should just know. And one of the first things I said to Jenny when we got together was, look, I have to tell you, given my previous experience of relationships, I don't just know. I don't read between the lines. I don't get subtlety. Just tell me straight. Just be honest. And we have such an honest conversation. We're in a relationship. Sometimes issues come up. We just talk about it. And we listen to one another. And we find a way through it because we can be honest. Other relationships I had, we didn't communicate very well. And so animosity started to build up, and all of a sudden, what used to be cute now looks fucking annoying. And then you've got this that's annoying, and that's annoying, that's annoying, that's annoying, and you said this once, and blah, blah, blah. And before you know it, you're dragging everything else in and piling it on top of this problem. And soon this problem looks so massive, but it isn't a problem. It's a thought. Problems don't exist in the world. Problems only exist to the mind. Problems are thoughts, not things.
Yeah. Now I think I'm going to talk to them. But now I know it's a thought that says they maybe not, they're so stuck in their story. So they maybe,
Do you see why I keep saying I'm not talking about thinking? Because the thinking will continue and it will come up with another thing and another thing and another thing. Thinking is infinite. It's all thought. It doesn't matter what you think.
Nah, exactly. And whatever the response will be, doesn't matter.
Well, you'll never know until you speak to them. Who knows? You may be surprised. I have countless times in my lifetime through just having honest conversation. I've been surprised.
Yeah, I feel better now. Thank you very much.
But understand that their reality looks as real to them as yours does to you.
Yes. I just want to change their realities, change their story.
Not your job.
No.
That's only to make you feel happy. So again, we've gone to an external thing that's making you feel unhappy. Their reality is making me feel unhappy. No, it doesn't work like that. We're back to the same thing as an object makes you feel. You've gone to the same illusion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Only you can make you happy. No place. I remember saying to Archie, my nephew, I said, Arch, where does happiness come from? No, where does sadness come from? He said, inside me. I said, where does happiness come from? He went, the beach. And we spoke about it for a little while. He's 9 years old. I said, do you not see they both come from inside you? Your happiness comes from inside you. You make it. Your sadness comes from inside you. You make that too. And he saw it and he was like, oh, his brother came walking in and he was like, where do you think happiness comes from? And his brother went, inside. Oh. But to me, it was revolutionary. And it is revolutionary when we truly see that point. The whole of life comes from the consciousness that we are. We are that life. We are that reality generator. That's our being. Our being is a dreamer. It dreams this reality. It's dreaming it right now. This is the dream. We take it so seriously. We take this life so seriously. We think it's all so important. We're only here for a few years in this incarnation and we act like we're going to live forever. No, we're only here for a few years. Enjoy it as best you can. Learn your lessons. Find love. Because that's what it's all about.
Inside.
Xander, you've got your hand up, mate, and then I think we'll call it an evening.
Brandon Lee, just before he died, it was an interview while they were making the movie The Crow. And if you're lucky enough, you might still be able to find this on YouTube. It's on the end of a song called It Can't Rain All the Time. And it's linked onto the back end of this song. And the song is It Can't Rain All the Time by Jane I believe her name's Jane Siberry. And what Brandon Lee said in this interview, I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. I'm just feeling really emotional for some reason. But
you're letting Scotland down, lad. Come on.
Hardy Scotsman. No, I don't know. Just it's it's just one of these nights. Sometimes it's like that. But it says it's when it gets to the really meaningful stuff, it really it just gets me. I mean the really deep shit, excuse my language. But it says right at the end of this song, it says, we live our lives as though everything is endless. He says, you go, now I'm paraphrasing here, okay, I'm not saying it word for word. He says, you go, you see a sunset. How many times in your life will you go specifically to see a sunset? Twice, 3 times, 4 times? He says, and you never know which sunset will be your last. Why fear it though? Don't fear it. Just know that, it's carpe diem, seize the day. Don't fear the future. Just live in the moment and the future will come. And when the future is no more, you won't even know about it anyway. You won't know when that moment comes because you'll have crossed into whatever is beyond this. And none of us know. I mean, there's been people who've come back and said, yeah, I know what it is. I've seen a light. I walked towards it and I've seen these doctors in the surgery room, and they were doing this and they were doing that. And people are going, oh, yeah, maybe that's true because that did happen. But really, we don't have a clue. We don't know where we've come from. We don't know why we're here, or maybe some of us do. But we certainly don't know where we're going. That's why this moment is the only true moment. Because last year, it's gone. The future, it lives up in here. It's not here yet. It's imagination. And I said that, I don't know if I said this on this call with you Dave, before. You can create a whole nation with a single image. That's imagination. 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 Creating an anyway, you either get it or you don't. Like, that's all I had to say.
Nice, Andy. Thanks, buddy. It's true. We are creating the future now. How we lay down the foundation. We're internally laying down the foundations for a future. How we act now always comes with a consequence. I attacked somebody who attacked my sister. I went to prison for it in that moment. You know, and to me at that time, it was the end of the world. My life's over. It's just another beginning. Same as every other moment. Every moment, all moment is just the beginning of an endless thing. And you wise up to that, you start to live your life as easily as possible. And try not to create too much shit in your life and trouble. And one of the best ways of doing that is just, if you've got a problem, have an honest conversation, speak to people. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. It's been a really beautiful night. 1 second. Xander, do you want to shout your thing?
Oh, yeah, it's thanks very much, Dave. First of all, I've started a Wednesday drop-in Zoom call, much like this. It runs at 12 o'clock midday to 1:30, and then 4 o'clock to 5:30, and then 8 o'clock till 9:30. They're all 1.5 hour sort of drop-in sessions for anybody who new or that done. It's sort of, I don't talk about the 3 principles specifically, but it's, so I would say it's covertly 3 principles, but it's all 3 principles anyway, if you know what I mean. So I just, thanks for allowing me to mention that, Dave.
No, you're welcome. Where can people find this at?
Let me see. If you go to xanderglasgow.com, and then go to the events page, or xanderglasgow.com/events, and there's some details about it on there.
Cool.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Karen, I hope it goes smoothly when you start to have another dog kick off. Hope it goes well with your family.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, wishing you love and wishing you luck. And Karen's gone, hasn't she? Oh, she's gone. But no, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Em, we'll see you tomorrow, love.
Different M.
Is that a different Em? No, our Em is on, I think.
No, that's Emma in Australia.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, we will be seeing you. tomorrow.
That's what I think they're
Jenny's
overjoyed.
not feeling too good. You're going to have to forgive her.
Oh, love that dog. Oh.
Oh, she's not feeling 100% today, isn't she? Right, everyone, loads of love.
Thank you. Thank
We'll
you,
see
Jen.
hopefully next week.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Your mum and dad are here, but that's different.
Yeah, Mum and Dad are here. Yeah, so cool. See you next Thursday if you can make it.
Bye.
Bye.
Emma says, "Get well soon, Jen."